In January, it was Madrid. In February, it was Philadelphia. To wrap up these off-season woes, we're going to just go a little south through Baltimore, Annapolis, D.C., and Richmond. I'm Lindsay, and you're watching History and Leisure Blue Sky. So, Annapolis, Maryland, the capital of Maryland and the first capital of the United States in peacetime. It hasn't seen rail service since the modern Baltimore LRT line was truncated with Glen Burnie in 1950, with DC service ending during the Great Depression. There are links by bus to the nearby metros. Currently, the 70 from Patapsco station goes to Annapolis and is roughly hourly during the week. The 920 from New Carrollton is an express service which seems to only run a few times a day, but can't confirm because the link shows the Gun Hills rate, which sounds a little sketch. We'll get back to DC and Baltimore a bit, but the idea of this video stemmed from an LRT line between Glen Burnie and Six Flags America, where the DC started extended to Lake Arbor to meet it. So this would involve redesigning the Glen Burnie station. So there was a little turn off for the LRT that doesn't really go anywhere, so you could move the Baltimore LRT platform there, and then the current Glen Burnie platform would be used for the Navy line. And I would rename the station Glen Burnie Cromwell because I could possibly add a 5th Avenue stop in Glen Burnie. It's mostly going to follow the MD2 right away. So exiting Glen Burnie hits Marley Station Mall, and this would be a main connection to Arcadia and Gibson Island. Sounds like an interesting place, kind of on the shore that might be a little touristy. That'd be nice. Then at Pasadena Road, it's Pasadena. Then another mall, Severna Park, Cypress Creek, and Aurora Community College. It's called that sounds like a main connection, and also that's a good point to connect to some towns on the eastern side of the Chesapeake. The south is Arnold, then Winchester. So I put that closer to a Mormon church, because church is also a big gathering place. From there, we would go underground from the Severn River to Boyer Road, Max Bishop Stadium. That's the main Navy College stadium, so obviously there's a thing you need that. And then King George College Avenue intersection, that's where, I don't think they call it University City there, but it's kind of basically University City. Sands Parish, probably use the West Street name, and then Sands Parish a little aside. Following that, National Cemetery, Admiral Heights, Admiral West. Putting a station in a mall so it gets more traffic might be a little out there for parole. It's just to the east, but eventually it would help kind of make it go up there, keep it kind of underground, and then it pops out again from another river, this time the Southern River, where it immediately stops outside Lee Airport at Edgewater, London Town. Then it switches to Maryland 214 alignment serving Davidsonville, Highway 301, Crane Highway, home of a new transit center with buses feeding mostly from the southeast. And then again, I was saying the Silver Line at Six Flags, and we kind of feel like an older terminal structure. There is buses, but one knows a weird deviation, the other one goes by college. In a perfect world, I would want this to run every 15 minutes from Glen Burnie to Six Flags America to use Madrid's 6,000, which are used on the TFM, and occasionally go up the main line of Line 9. Both of those are in an Italian gauge. Or you could be like the River Line, use Sarah Forster GCWs. In town, there's a Harris Truman Park and Ride. This doesn't connect to it at all. Or simply do a train change in Glen Burnie, and it continues to Annapolis, and then you have the bus connecting to one of the stations in Annapolis, Park and Ride, and then New Carrollton. But something that is definitely working on growing is the DC Metro itself. And I have a whole sort of list of Infills stations and other additions. Cameron 1, which is where the VRE branches diverge. There's a little tiny water park and public park there, and in Madrid, there's a lot of the parks are connected or very close to metro stations. And there is a bit of a gap between Alexandria and Van Dorn Street. So it's mostly pretty old getting to the park and not be able to park at the park and going in to the city. So that might be the problem. The blue-silver lines go underground from Benning, pop up at Kingman, and then go back down to Stadium Armory. So I'm if you build a new station there, you might as well just make it underground for the metro. And then obviously you have the H. Bank Street car on top, and there's The driving range are set also cut out space, but also this is no parking. This is intended for people from New Carrollton, Largo, to transfer to the H-Bank streetcar to get to Union, or people from Union getting to Six Flags. And also, you could design it as a short turn if you really wanted to. So the short turn, so the Silver Line would turn out Kingman, since the original plan was that it was going to turn out Stadium Armory anyway. So you could do that, but also people want to turn the Blue Line into a loop line, so that would kind of be null. And then under that topic as well was extending the Green Line one stop closer to Andrews Air Force Base, probably either to Morningside or Camp Spring, but obviously not getting much closer to the base, just because, you know, St. Louis has a connection to their nearby base, but obviously you need a bit of distance now because of 9/11. Now moving over to major extensions. Like the L-Line currently follows the Green Line to Fort Tot up from LaFont all the way to its in Greenbelt, but you already have, there is a transit center on the new Purple Line called Tacoma Langley, and that sounds like a perfect point to shoot for the Yellow Line instead. So it would go from Fort Tot, Madison Street, Ethan Allen, Tacoma Plaza, then a TC, and possibly two more stops beyond that to a I-95 park and ride, with another stop called Adelphi en route. And also it was really supposed to go to Franconia-Springfield anyway, so might as well just do that at this point. For the Red Line, the eastern branch, I say, could go to Albany via Aspen Hill, and then west can go Shaven kind of curve to Redland. It'd be almost a loop. There's a bit of green space in the middle, and there might not be enough of a reason to close the loop. There's a proposed Brown Line from White Oak to Friendship Heights. And then in my map, I said, like, you know, let's extend it to the Orange Line and then extend that branch one stop, splitting Vienna and Fairfax in two separate stations. So the current Fairfax station would be named Fairfax, and then you would have extend as far as I can to Vienna, because they're basically filling out the lanes there. Now, it's like add a pink line as basically a second branch of the Green Line through Oxon Hill. First phase would be as Piscataway to LaFont, and then Farragut North connecting north and west, because it'd be a separate platform from the Red Line, but it would be considered Farragut North, be Waldorf, and then maybe following the river through Georgetown, and then connecting to the Purple Line in Bethesda. And speaking of that blue being a loop line, if you were to class it as like two terminals like Madrid's loop lines, I would say Roslyn Arlington, because Arlington Cemetery is a major landmark, and Roslyn is a major transfer point, and the main reason why we want to give blue a separate track. And I think they should try and design as a cross-platform transfer with blue on the outer tracks and orange and silver in the middle. Across the Potomac River, Georgetown crosses right at DuPont Circle and Brooklyn CUA. Young Grand U Street Cardozo, but in between U Street and Brooklyn, a new stop for Trinity Washington University. After crossing the Red Line, Woodridge, Langdon, Gateway National Arboretum, across the Anacostia, Minnesota Avenue, Benning Road, goes elevate through Benning Ridge, Coral Hills, Naylor Road meets the Green Line, Marlow Heights, North Brandenburg, Oxnell, which probably would start off maybe as a Green Line branch, but eventually be the Pink Line, National Harbor, goes underground across the Potomac River, Bellhaven. Huntington is rebuilt. It's kind of weird. Either it starts going up much earlier, so it's actually elevated now, or it's like kind of like Arlington, where it's popping out from underground, where the part that's above ground is accessible, but the part underground is actually on a curve. That is Eisenhower Avenue. Probably would be underground again for King Street, Old Town. Then it splits on more suburban course through Delray, Monticello, Fort Scott. Again, outer cross-platform transfer Pentagon City, but diverse before Pentagon, but would reconnect to the current track to get to Arlington Cemetery. So, but it's kind of like how Madrid was built in phases. I would say phase one would be Oxnard to Georgetown, but it would still follow the Yellow Line in Alexandria from Georgetown to the Arboretum. Phase 2B would be once the Pink Line is activated, then you would reroute. The rerouting through Alexandria would open, and then you would close the loop. Last but not least is Baltimore for this video. They wanted to have like a BRT line that goes closer to the Inner Harbor and stuff. That city is kind of struggling right now. And they have one metro, and I was thinking you could branch at Shaw Tower. You have one branch to Brewers Hill, possibly O'Donnell, and then north from Johns Hopkins to US 1, possibly to Morgan State University. And then there was idea to use the LRT just to connect to train stations, Penn, and Camden. But I do feel like the I-70 parking lot should be like a base for 15-minute services, and then demote. It's already off the interstate system, but remove it from the interstate standards, just make that a little boulevard. It's not really used. Delete I-97, make that a part of I-70. But it makes me think of Mark. But as per tradition so far, Part 1 is Metro, Light Rail, BRT. Part 2 is the Regional Rail. So that means Mark and the VRE. So until then, comment, subscribe, strike the bell,